Good evening. Welcome to my craft room. It is Sissy from Sissy's Cards and Crafts, and I am an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator here in Eastern Ontario, Canada. So tonight I thought we would dust out the Country Flowers bundle. So again, if you bundle this, it's still a savings, bundled savings. So you can get this together. It's 10% off, or you could just order the stamps or the dies separately. So the bundled price is the $72.75. All right, you can also, if you're interested, get it in a suite. Now, a suite is where they're going to put two bundles together. And so often it's going to come with two stamp sets and usually two sets of paper. That can be, give or take. Everything changes all the time. You usually get some sort of embellishment and or ribbon. This came with both, and a dual pack of ribbon. Now, this is saying, and I just printed this off, so that this suite is in low inventory, but you can't buy this ribbon anymore. So I don't know if they're just holding it for the suites or how that works. It also comes with an embossing folder. That is something that's a little bit extra. It can be pricey, but basically when you buy a suite, you're buying the two bundles. Anything extra is just added on in price. So you've got the bundled for the Country Flowers, the bundled for the Country Birdhouse, those two prices, then plus your embellishment, your ribbon, and your embossing folder. You're not saving a huge amount. So if you can't order a piece like the ribbon, then order the two bundles and just get the other things separately, and you'll save, you're not going to really save any money, if that makes sense. I know I'm kind of babbling again. It's late. Tends to be I'm late when I come on, just because of the way life is around here. We have to do our routines every night, so that's kind of what happens, and I can sneak on when the routine is completed. Okay, oops, sorry about that. I've got phone dingling in the background. I apologize. Right, the card we're going to make tonight, and we're going to do a little bit of everything. So we've got, first I'll show you the actual kit or the set. So we've got some sentiments. The flower market, usually I put on the bucket or the flower pot, or with the other set, there's a couple things you can put that on too. It's not so much as sentiment, more as something to add. But we've got some beautiful flowers, some foliage here, another bouquet of flowers, this cute little stool, teapot. There is a lid for the teapot as well when you have the dies, and then the pot. So pretty awesome. There's a line there that you can make a top for the pot if you want that. So I've mentioned this a few times. I like to keep everything together. So when I buy the two sets, I just stick my dies in, and then I put the back piece on here. So this is my dies. It has 15 dies with the set. I've taken a couple out because we're going to use them, but there's these gorgeous flowers. You'll see that they cut out in a circle. These are joined, so they will cut out in a circle. Then there's these ones and these ones here. Oh, and these ones as well. So all of these little dies here where the flowers aren't joined. So they're all on one piece of metal. But if we look where the cuts are, they'll come out all separate. So if I ran this through, I would have 3 little flowers. And then there is some little bit of, I don't know what I'm looking for. Like it does a little bit of embossing and cutting, so it gives you a little bit more definition to it. It's not just the outline. There's a little bit more there. I apologize. It's late. I just, words aren't coming to me. We can blame it on a few different factors, but that's the way it goes. So some of these will work together. Like we've got this jug, and we could cut it out, and then we can cut out this other one and pop it on top. So now it's not, or it's a pail rather, right? So it cuts out as a pail. or we can put this on and now it's like a jug with 2 handles on it. So there's some really unique features with this. That's good. Features, that's the word I was looking for earlier. So then here's our stamps all on this set. Now this little line, you can see here how we can stamp it across. And this is one of those stamps that you can bend. So we could make it actually look like the bucket has a rounded top, not just a straight top. So, you know, if we get to that, I might show you that at some point. Well, we won't tonight, but anyway, so that's the set we are using. We are also going to do some embossing. So I thought I would show both embossings. We're going to use this 3D. It comes with the suite. It's a 3D embossing folder. It's called the EYELET 3D embossing folder. 3D just means it's a little bit thicker, so you have to use your plates a little bit different on your Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And it gives you deeper definition to your to the paper. So, and then I just tend to, these don't last very well, so I just tend to throw them in because this was basically the case that these dies came in. So I throw this in here because it just works better. Again, little things that I do. All right, then bringing out these Spotlight and Nature dies again because we've got that eyelet around here for the circle. So that's what we're going to use for the sentiment piece. So those are the things that we are going to use. Ribbon and the paper. So I thought I would again go to the Celebration paper. And this is the paper that you get free with your $75 purchase. So this gorgeous, I always forget the name, Bloom Impressions paper. And it's got the nice flowers, florals on there. And so one of the colors in here is Petunia Pop. So that's kind of the pinky color. And then also we have Blackberry Bliss. So I thought we would be able to pull those 2 colors in. And then I went to the In Color. So this is just a package. You can buy these papers. Well, all of our cardstocks you can buy either individually, so you get a full set of one color, or you can buy them in families. And so for this is the In Color paper. So I bought the whole set of the In Color for last year and this year. So that's our paper we're going to use. I have the coordinating ribbon we're going to put on there, hopefully. And then a couple other fun things we're going to do is we're going to actually do some alcohol markers and some other embossing. So here's the card. We've got, this was one of the papers that came with the suite, this eyelet paper here. It's really, really pretty. Let me just grab it here. Country Lace, it was called. And like you're finding out, most of our papers have kind of a muted, more generic side, and then the side that kind of what it's looking for. So you can see how we've got this very, it's almost like a denim look to it. And then the other side's this eyelet pattern. And it really gives, even though there's no texture to it, it gives the illusion of texture. So, and everything coordinates. It looks awesome. It's a really nice set of paper. So we're going to pull, or that's what I used here, but I'm not going to use that for this. I thought I would go for the Celebration. And here are some of the flowers. And then the actual die cuts of the leaves we've pulled in, and then our sentiment piece. And on the sentiment piece, so I used a piece of the DSP, kind of the back side of one of these papers. So there is a pattern on it. And to make my sentiment stand out even more, I did some heat embossing on that. So I'm going to show you quickly, give you a quick introduction to that. And then I did kind of a long, I don't know if you'd call it a bow, but some twine here, baker's twine. we're not going to use that. We're going to try using the ribbon, but we'll see. Okay, so that's what we want to do. I'm making it this fold this way, so it's the long way. I've put my little insert in here, and then I have tucked in here just a band along the bottom. I thought that was a card. Looking for just a quick card here. So forgive me, I'm going to just pull out an old bus pass, but basically like a gift card, you can add in this little pocket. So that pocket is giving me some visual design to my card, but also it's useful for that little pocket. So it can be a gift card holder. Okay, so let's get going. Now, first thing I want to do is take my DSP to make my card base. So I'm going to grab my handy dandy trimmer. There's that die. I'm going to put it in here, and I'm going to actually cut it lengthwise. So I'm cutting it, instead of scoring it, I'm cutting it at that 4 1/4. Okay, because that's half of this. And this is, again, that traditional A2 size, and it's our standard 8.5 by 11 cardstock. So cutting blade out of the way, scoring blades coming up, and scoring it, and it's our cardstock, so it's good and heavy. Folding it here, and then I'm going to burnish it. So beautiful, beautiful pink color. I really like this. So now we're going to give the piece that's going to lay in front of it. And I'm going to go to 4 instead of 4 1/4, 4 1/8. And I'm going to cut that. And then I will turn it and 5 3/8. I want to cut that. Okay, I'm going to use this piece again, or this extra again. Obviously you could use it for another card, but that's going to, we're going to flip it over, and we're going to use this as that sentiment piece on the front. Okay, so this is what we've got so far. I can glue this down because I'm not going to stick any ribbon or anything in there yet, or this time. So that's usually why I will wait to adhere this down, as if I'm going to try to tack some ribbon in there. And this is a thinner paper, so try to make sure you're not putting too much glue on it, because you don't want to see that glue on the inside. And just center it around so you have that nice border that's matted there. Okay, perfect. So I'm just going to set that aside for a minute while we get our other things together here. All right, so I have our white cardstock, and I want to do our embossing on there. And now just give me a second, because I forgot the measurement that I thought. Yeah, so we have 2 3/4 width there. So let's just see if I got that. Sure, that should work. Oh, that's not gonna work. Okay, so 2 3/4. I'm gonna come down here. Sorry, I just kind of had to figure something out there in my little brain. It doesn't look. Yeah, okay. So then I also want to cut this at that 5 3/8. Yes, that's it. Okay, we will use that piece as well. So there is that piece that we are going to emboss. I'm just going to pop this stuff out of the way. And I've promised that you would get to see this good old machine here. So this is the Sizzix machine. As you can see, it does not fold up. This is just the beast that basically sits under my desk. The plates actually are this, and we just kind of, it opens up like, oops, sorry, I moved the camera, or did not want to do that. Just kind of opens up like a book. It gives you your how to stack things for what you want to do. So we are going to do the 3D embossing, which usually is this one. So this is a very thick, hard surface. You can see mine's kind of falling apart. I had to glue it. I think that's common from what I see. Actually, it can be kind of awkward, especially in this. Like I say, I usually just put it on the floor and use it. So I have this plate. These are my cutting plates. These were kind of a specialty one that they came out with, but they would work just like the other mini machine, but this is just the larger factor. However, when I do the 3D embossing, I've got to, like I already said, use a different layer. Now, here's my embossing folder. Always look for that Stampin' Up logo on the front. Sorry, I'm out of the shot. That's going to tell me that is the front of it. And the important part here actually is that line. So depending on your folder, some you don't need to worry about getting so straight, but something like this, you do want to get straight. You don't want to have it crooked, your pattern. So position it where you're happy with it, close it, make sure you're holding it nice and secure and that paper doesn't get ski-haw in there. All right, this fold here, or the spine of it, always goes in first because a lot of pressure, there's a big weight here that I'm cranking around. That pressure is going to hit and it's going to create pressure inside here. That's the whole purpose, to emboss the paper. And if we put it in this way, that pressure is just going to blow out this spine. So always put your spine in first. And for this sandwich, quote unquote, you're going to you have the shim here, put your folder down, and then put your plate on top. That plate helps give it that even pressure across. So I'm just going to push it a little bit. Once that wheel starts, then I'm going to crank it through. It cranks through very easily. It is nice. It's a nice smooth, there's very little effort required to do that. And so, you know, this is a decent machine. It's just big and cumbersome. And this is really how I store it. Helps keep the plates flat. So doing that way. And I apologize, I've got a really squeaky chair. So I've rewatched a couple of my videos and I didn't realize how loud my chair was. I will apologize for that again. Okay, so that is our embossing folder. And there's so many unique things, like you can get a brayer and add paint, ink to this and just really decorate things up quite nicely. Okay, so that is going to sit on there. And then, like you can see here, we're going to feed our florals through. So I've already colored one of these just to save some time. And I haven't decided which leaf I'm going to put behind there. I'm kind of thinking, I thought the gray might be nice because it's just more of a neutral color. And then I thought, well, that brown might be nice, but it's maybe too close to the brown in the flowers there. And so then I'm thinking, you know what, that green just might be where I'm going. But try it, see what you like. You know, do what works for you. So let's do one of these flowers. I colored them with the alcohol markers. So that's what we're going to give a quick demo of. We'll cut another green one, and then we will work on our embossing here, heat embossing. Okay, so is this going to be, oh, look at that, just perfect size for that. I'm going to just move a couple things here and get out my cleaner. Sorry for reaching there. One of these days when I start to get a little bit more to invest in my videos, I will get a second camera and set up so you can see me as I'm doing this as well. But right now, you know what? I'm kind of in my pajamas, so you don't really want to see that. But that's the plan. I have lots of plans. Okay, so that's a great stamp. I'm going to clean my stamp off here. I'm really, really liking the Stampin' Scrub. It really just makes such a difference in keeping my stamps nice and just keeping them in a better shape, I guess. Okay, I'm going to pull that out because I'm going to need that. All right, so all of our Stampin' Blends, these are, as I said, alcohol markers. So first thing to note, use good cardstock because they will bleed. So you want to make sure you've got a good cardstock that will prevent that. Use Memento ink. You want to use a water-based ink so that it won't blend or bleed through into your flowers. Okay. So what we can do, and you can see with that, I think that red one there, I've got two different shades. With most of them I do, but definitely with this, that's probably the most visual. I've got two different shades, and there's no lines. Like, you know, if you were coloring with crayons or pencil crayons, you would see those lines, and that can be a little bit irritating, and it just doesn't look as professional. So our blends come in packages of two. You always have your dark and your light. And I'm going to start with the dark, and you have your bullet tip and brush tip. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to circle around this big flower here, just as if that was kind of the natural color of the flower. I'm not going to go quite, I've done a few of these today, and I just found if I went right up to that center, it didn't look quite as nice as what this one did. So I'm going to just actually put my light Blackberry Bliss in there. So this was, if you remember, one of the colors that is in the paper. And so I thought, well, it will work quite nicely and coordinate quite nicely. Everything is so easy to coordinate with Stampin' Up! Products. So as I'm coloring, keep in mind that alcohol dries really, really quickly. So we want to get that color blended together, basically mixed together, right? While it's still wet. So try to do littler areas at a time. With this, it's quite easy to do this one because it is quite a small object, but you want to make sure you're not giving it too much time between. And the way I like to think about it is I'm pushing the color around, and so I'm adding it obviously, but I'm also kind of pushing it around, and that just helps me keep in mind what I'm doing. It's not just laying color down, I'm pushing it. So I'm pulling the dark into the light and adding it. The other thing that works really well is this glass mat. So it kind of keeps it a little bit cooler and doesn't allow it to dry as quick as what it would on a different surface. It definitely isn't pulling it down, and that would encourage it to dry really quick. So then I'm going to take some of this light lemon lolly, and I'm going to give it a nice center there. And the one thing with these markers is you can, like you can see how I can just make that a little bit brighter. Unlike other markers where you put a dark color down and then you put a light color on top and you're never seeing the light, these actually will pull the light up quite nicely, which is nice. So what I also did is I did this flower in Moody Mauve, and that is a color from last year's In Colors. It's still, so far, it's still here. It will retire this year, but I thought it was just a nice little color to coordinate. And I had it, and I wanted this sort of a rose, dusty rose sort of color. I really like it. I'm going to miss it when it goes. I just think it looks so nice. I mentioned the other day about my favorite color in it growing up. Blue was my favorite color, but then I switched to pink, and it was basically because of this color that drew me to the pinks. Okay, so then I'm going to use light peach pie for the center of this flower. And you can see it's kind of bled, which is, so if you look at the center, it's not white anymore. It bled a little bit in. That has to do with the quality of paper, but also I'm doing quite a fine little area. But here, if I put that peach pie on that lighter color, it actually is getting lighter. So where it did blend. And you can get color lifters, and that's basically a white that's going to completely pull those colors off, which is really cool. Okay, so then I've got my dark and light crumb cake. So I'm going to do this, oh, the word is there, succulent. And I'm just going to kind of come along the edges as if it's a bit of a shadow on these leaves. So just along the sides, kind of just to add a little bit. We are going to blend them in, so it's not like it's going to be completely, if you did something wrong, you think, oh my goodness, I've mucked it up. That's not necessarily the case. Now, when you're using this stamp, though, look to see what is the succulent and what is the leaves or the other flowers, because you don't want to color them the wrong color. So know what your pattern is. So here I am, and you can see those dark lines are just kind of blending in, and it's acting now more as a shadow. So with the alcohol markers, you can do this and you can get some really awesome results where it looks more professional than what, just other coloring would be. We will use our blending pens, which you can get more of a watercolor look and blend that way, and you just use your regular ink. So we'll show that as well. So there you go. You can see how that just, and as it dries, it will become more prevalent. All right, so then the pinks I did with the bubble bath. So dark bubble bath, and with flowers, as the petals are all curled up and small, they're a little bit darker. So I want to hit these top ones and then maybe just kind of down at the edges with that darker color. Just kind of, and again, look at what is what's what. Don't color the wrong thing here. And I will blend this out just like I did the other ones. It might be easier to do your leaves first so you know what's leaves and what's not, but I think those are all the flowers. Now come in, and remember your bullet tip versus the brush tip for these little areas. You're going to want the bullet tip. All right, I'm just going to blend those in. Normally, I would say, you know, just do a couple flowers at once. Don't do all of them, but these are quite small. So we're going to get through them quickly. The ink won't dry that quickly for these. There we go. Now I used the light old olive for the foliage or the leaves here. I decided not to add any dark like shadowing to them just because they're quite small and they're in the background. I will, however, maybe just not kind of give full coverage, so there is maybe just a little bit of white still peeking in there, and that's going to add that depth, because that's what we're doing here. Like, it's when you can add those shadows, it gives the illusion of depth, and when we're going to layer it in as well, then it really just gives a nice finished look. Okay, so there we go for those. That's done. Now for my die, I want to just pop that on there. Sorry, I'm just going to pull it out of frame so I can actually look straight down and make sure I'm getting it even. Okay, I'll stick that on. I really like using the washi tape, but try not to get it on your picture any more than you need to, because that's going to just, it could stick and then tear. Okay, just throw this on. Now I have lots of room though, and I'm going to throw on, I'm going to grab this die. And where did I have? My old olive ink. I want to, or not ink, paper. I want to pull up. So I'm just going to grab a piece of this, and you know, it's a die is a die. They're all the same thickness. I wouldn't emboss and cut at the same time because that's two different thicknesses, but this is, oh no. Phew. That was scary. Oh, and look, there's another die that I had lost, but I just found it. There we go. So that was a bit of a help that that one fell. All right, so I'm going to pop that on. I don't need any washi tape with that because it should stay. And famous last words, right? Make my sandwich, run it through. Do two things at once. There we go. Okay. So that little one is just so handy. Ooh, it did move, but I just got it. Look at that. That was very close. So maybe I should have used some washi tape. If you drop it on your glass mat, it usually pops everything out and you can put it in. If you've got a really detailed die and they're not coming out, I'll actually show you what you can do to help. So there's a little piece here I just want to pop out. Those are going to go in here. Right, please. Oh, I'm going to use that again because I've got to do the other Spotlight on Nature die. Okay. Where can I stick the piece of tape that I want to use again? Okay, so that is done. We've got our two dies and our greenery, and this will get situated on as we go. So now I need that circle. There we go. And this, I will show you a little trick on how to, because this is all these little pieces in there. What I'm going to do is just grab a piece, and sorry, it's just going to be loud. I'm going to grab a piece of wax paper. And we're going to use that as well. So we're going to just pop this as a barrier between our paper and the die. Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to keep that right with those dies so I can use it again. Okay, so let's just use this smaller piece. I had said we're going to use this piece, right? And I'll just find a spot. It's probably going to do the best. You can see how that's starting to fray. I'm going to have to replace my blade on my machine, or my trimmer rather. That off. Okay. So I'm just going to set them aside. What I'm going to do is, you know, you can feel kind of the waxy side and the regular side. I'm going to put that waxy side up. I'm going to pop this in here. Because that wax paper is so thin, it will cut through it. And then what happens, though, is it prevents all of those little pieces from sticking. At least that's the plan. So I'm going to pop that on there. Make sure it's... Some people will run their dies through without cutting with it, but they'll run it through with sheet of fabric softener, so the dryer sheets, and that will put like a wax coating on the die, and it will last for a while to help keep things from building up. So you can see now there's all those little pieces. My die has come out clean. There's a couple pieces here, but they're gonna look that just one fall or drop, and they all came off. So makes it so much easier than trying to punch out all of those little holes. I really, really like this die. I think I'm a sucker for lace, but I thought, you know what, it's kind of annoying to get all those pieces out. And then you got these little teeny tiny ones. I cut a bunch of darker colors out earlier, and I thought, you know what, I could add them. It really freaked my husband out thinking little seeds or mouse poop or something somewhere, because that's what it reminded me of. Oh, I'm bad, but yeah. Okay, so that's done. And I'm just going to stick this together. I'm all about trying to keep things together, putting them away, because, you know, when you need them and you only have limited space, it can be very problematic to do a craft, and you're like, where is that? And you spend most of your time looking for things. It's very frustrating, as I'm sure everybody can relate. Okay, so now this is how this is all going to go together. Oh, there. It's like, what did I do? Okay, this is how it's all going to go together, and you can see that's quite, I really like the look of that color on here, but I would have to use a good bold stamp to be able to see on there. So what I'm going to do is do some embossing. So that's going to make that really just pop out. So heat embossing, we did some just dry embossing, right, with the embossing folder, the EYELET folder, which is very, very sweet. But now we're going to do some heat embossing. And I have a piece of paper here. Just grab a piece of paper. You're going to need that. Or we do have trays, embossing trays, which is going to catch all of that embossing powder. So this is called a Little Embossing Buddy. It is an off-brand one, but it's just got some, it reduces the static and takes all of the oils off the paper. If you're going to use it with a dark color cardstock, you can sometimes see the white powder on there. Sometimes it comes off quite easily, other times not so easily. So just be mindful of that. But with this one, it's all good. You'll also need a Versamark or a watermark stamp pad. So this is clear ink. It's thick and sticky, and it's basically our glue that's going to hold our embossing powders on. So then our embossing powder here, we're going to use black. It's just too light to use white, but if you want to do a dark color and have writing on a dark color, the way to go is use white embossing. And then our stamp. So what we do is, and you'll need your heat tool. So I have our heat tool here, and it's just going to heat up and melt the embossing powder. So ink this up. Now, this is a hot commodity lately, this embossing ink, or yeah. So I'm going to center that here. So I can't even get a refill for the Versamark. Everybody seems to be sold out of it. So maybe not the time to start, but it is so much fun. Okay, so you can't see that, or if you can, it's very, very faded. So it's like a watermark. Then I'm going to take my embossing powder and dump it on. Don't be afraid to do more or less. Some people will scoop, like take powder and scoop it. That way you can kind of get all your edges. That's fine. Make sure you tap it all off and look to see, is there any strays. The embossing buddy or embossing kits that, oh, there's some white chunk there. I don't know what that is. I'm going to take that out. Some of the kits, or the kits usually come with like a paintbrush sort of, or makeup brush idea. And I'm just going to use a paintbrush to help brush off all of those extra pieces, because you want to get in there and make sure there's no strays hanging out, because what we're going to do is melt them. And if those strays are there, you'll melt the strays and you're not getting them off. All right, then just dump your powder back in. I like to fold my paper that I used, unless I'm using it more and more, because there is going to be stray powder on it. Now, take this, get it away from the heat. Do not have it near the heat. I also will do that with my Versamark ink. We'll clean the stamp in a second. I'm going to use my chamois here just to get anything off. As I mentioned when I was talking about this the other night, or was it last night? I said a demonstrator actually did put embossing powder on here, heat embossing, and it came off. I don't want to try that tonight. All right, the other thing you get with the embossing kit is some reverse tweezers. I have some here. Reverse tweezers hold it, pinch it without pressure. You have to put pressure on to let it go, unlike regular tweezers, right? So it's easy to hold. I don't want to just hold it because I will burn myself. The heat tool has two settings. One is just for drying something. So if I wanted to quickly dry ink or whatever, I could use that. And then the second setting is what we're going to use for heat. So there is a noise to it. I did put noise canceling on the video, but it will be loud if that doesn't work. So just bear with me. We want to heat it up for a couple minutes, or a couple seconds rather, so it works quickly. All right, and here we're going to just, you can come from the back. I like to start at the back just because it is a powder. I don't want to blow it anywhere. However, it is stuck there. And then you can start to see there's going to be some shine happening. And that's when it's melting. And once you see that it's all shiny, you're good. It's done. You don't need to keep going because shine means it's finished and it's raised. So you've all had a card where you've had some embossing on it. Maybe it was a fancy wedding invitation or something, and you can put your finger and you can feel that raised surface. But now it's a bit of a shine to it. I think it's just so amazing. I really do like it. Okay, let's put this all together. We've been on for 45 minutes. Let's get this done. Okay, very intricate card tonight. A few different things to, new techniques to do. My goal again with starting this business of teaching crafting is to have technique classes where we get together and we really look at these different techniques, how they work, different things you can do, different ways you can do it. Okay, so now another technique that's going to need to know is glue removal. So I've just got glue all down here. What I'm going to do is let that dry, and then I'm going to take a glue eraser. So there's this eraser here, and it will just pull that off, but I'm going to wait for it to dry first. This you can just pull off Amazon quite reasonably. Okay, so let's position these, and this can take a little bit of, this can be a little finicky. I liked it when these leaves, so I kind of alternated them, so I had a pattern coming down that way, so offset. I liked when the leaves came off the white, and then I want to make sure I can see these two focal leaves, and again offset them, so one is facing one way and one is facing the other. So then try to position them how you think. Then this obviously will cover some of those flowers, so some that we worked hard to color are not going to be seen. You know what, that's it. That's the way it is. I can pull it down or up, shift it a little bit. That's fine as well. However you want to do it is perfectly fine. No two cards are alike. So there we go. We can kind of see everything there. I want more of a swoop, if that's the word I'm looking for. I don't know. Give me some comments, some likes, hints, ideas of what you want. Starting out, I know I kind of wanted to learn everything. Maybe there's a kit, maybe there's a style or something you'd like to learn. Let me know so I can work on that and help you with that, because nothing's worse than having all this all this equipment, investing your time and effort into this career or hobby rather, and then not know how to use it, right? It's kind of sad. Okay, so I've positioned it. Now what I want to do is I'm just going to take my glue and I'm going to very gently lift up. I'm going to turn that around, and I don't want to fold it too much, and I'm going to hit some high points here with the glue to make sure I'm getting these down where I want them and they're positioned. Then once they're in their position, I can kind of rejig things a little bit. So those are going down. I'm going to take my dimensionals and do the same thing. The dimensionals will kind of hold the leaves in place as well. But once I get one down, then it's going to make it a lot easier to keep it in the spot that I want it. All right, so that's kind of where I'm going. Now I can come back and add more glue because it's in the spots that I want. I liked some of the leaves still kind of loose and not sticking up. It's kind of something I thought looked quite nice. Now this little guy though, he's going to get broke if I don't secure him. Yeah. Got glue all over my fingers now. Okay, and then pop these dimensionals on here. 3 per flower should be good. Oops, just make sure you can't see it, although that really wouldn't be a problem right there. This is one of those things that I always just, the parts of the card making I enjoy is putting it together. You work to get all these little pieces, and now the assembling just usually goes quite quickly and you get all of the impact right away. Okay, so we've got that. Now I want to take my ribbon in here. Like I said, I've just got that elastic I've grabbed. Now with the twine, it was quite small. You didn't see it that much. So which is nice in one way, but in another way, it's a little bit more difficult. So I can do a similar thing with this ribbon. Like this is what I did, is I created a very long, loose bow, basically. And I stuck it to the back of my sentiment piece, and then I put it down. But you can see we're getting too much coverage of those flowers, so I don't want that. I don't really think I want to do it in this direction. You could, I guess that gives you a little more yeah, I don't know. I think I like it just kind of coming down like this, the cascade direction of everything else. So I think that's what I'm going to do, kind of just one of these, what do you call them? Like the ribbon sort of looks that you get. I could also just do a couple strips behind it. So this is another thing people will do, is just kind of go like this. So not do a really wide one, but more small sort of version where it just is like a back and forth, and then that sticks on. You know what? I think that's what we're going to do. Okay, so I'm going to cut this just a smidge longer than what I need it to be. And my scissors here, my snips. Okay, that's where I'm going. And this is going to be finicky. This ribbon is really nice. It's not one that's got, you've got to worry about which side has the sheen on it and such. And it's nice and soft. And it does fold nice. So I'm going to come through like this. And how come that's not creating the loop that I want? I guess it is now. Okay. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. Yeah, I think I'm going to cross it like that. So I guess I am kind of going in the direction that I said I wasn't going to go, but it's smaller, so I'm happier with it that way. All right, so that's kind of what I want to do. I'm going to pull out that tear and tape again. And just carefully lift this up. I'm going to put this on the back, and that's just going to capture it in the position I have it. So put my tape down, pull the backing off. If you're having a hard time with the backing, use your pokey tool, take your pick tool or something with a sharp edge. Okay, so now I'm going to just kind of pick that up with that, like that. And it's positioned, but I need to hold it that way. So I'm going to take another piece of tear and tape. I probably should have done a little bit. Oh, that's all right. I don't need to take the backing off that because it's going to hold it. Okay. I'm going to trim those braid edges off there. Cut that a little bit smaller now too. Okay, awesome. Awesome, awesome. Now we have put dimensionals here, so we need to either keep this the same height. So I'll put dimensionals here and here, just so I keep it on the same plane, because if I put a dimensional here, it's going to be too high. So I'm going to do kind of my little trick here of sneaking in there. Make sure I can't see it. And then sneak in here like that. And also, if it's on the ribbon, it will also create height that I don't want. So they're in the spots I want it. Position this down. And there we go. That's the front of our card. Oh, I'm at that thing at that hour point. So then, like I said, you can come back and use a glue eraser if you've got glue on it to help pull that off. So then the inside, like I said, I used, that's too big. I used an insert. And I'm not going to, why can't I pull off there? I'm not going to keep you too long to do that, to show you that again. But I then also created that pocket here. So I'm going to cut 1.5. And then I have kind of a crooked edge here I want to straighten up. There we go. And I'm just going to pop that there so I can put my sentiment there, right? And with this one, I used the EYELET stamp and stamped it here. Just put sending love there and had my pocket there. So that's what I'm going to do. For these edges, instead of using glue, I did use tear and tape. You could use glue. That's not a problem whatsoever. And then before we go, I want to also show you what I did for the envelope. So the coordinating envelope I think is really sweet, but I took that EYELET stamp and I went down along here. So it brings that together. You know, if you could stamp something on the front, I think it looks nice. And then I took some coordinating paper. With the Stampin' Up envelopes, this is 2 1/4, I believe. So I usually cut 2.5 width by 6. And then I glue it on, and then I just come around and cut that. And now I've got a coordinating envelope for my card, which I think looks really sweet. So I will do the same for this. Then also we can, I'm sorry, I'm saying also too much. I've got to watch that. Another thing. I'm just looking for jewels here, or the, there we go. That's what I wanted. Squeaky chair coming. Apologize. We can pull in. I didn't put gems on the other one. I totally meant to, but didn't get there. So now we've got these in color shimmer gems, and there is a shimmer to them. They are the in color ones. Obviously, I said that already. I'm going to use my take your pick tool, kind of fix that. I'm going to have to play around with that. We have 2 different sizes of gems. So I'm going to put a large one there, thinking of my triangle plan as well. And one here, I think. Oops. And actually, I hit the middle of those. I aimed for the middle of the eyelet, so kind of got that there. All right, so that's our card for tonight. Thank you for joining me. It's an amazing set. The counterpart to it with the sweets, with the, oh, what is it? Country Flowers bundle where you get the birdhouses. That's a really amazing set. I designed a 3D box card with that is really, really sweet too. So hopefully we'll get to that one as we start looking forward to spring. Okay, so thank you for joining me again. Take care. Please leave some comments, and we will see you hopefully tomorrow.